what's going on, everyone? It is Chris, and welcome back to once again another episode of the Big Brother Podcast with my good friend Gocubs 711. Yes,
Chris, is that you?
Yeah, it's me.
Is that you?
It's me.
I can't see anything.
I am right here, my friend.
Where?
I am in the computer.
How'd you get in there? Come out, please.
I have been teleported in there.
Can you clean up a couple files for me?
I actually can. Dude, oh God, porn. What are you doing, Go?
No, okay. It's not computer. You're not.
Welcome
You weren't
back,
supposed
everyone.
to see
that. Welcome back, everyone, to the Big Brother Podcast. So very fun week, if I had to say. We had 4 Big Brother episodes. If they couldn't beat a dead horse enough,
one more than 3. Which is what we usually have.
If they couldn't be a dead horse enough, they really are. There is a lot this week, so we'll try to cover it all. So last week we saw that Paulie won head of household for his second time, and essentially made Frank safe again, which easily freaked everyone out. But they knew that their plan of action was to go after Tiffany after saving her the previous week. So, Paulie has been wanting to get Tiffany out for so long, and now that they gave her a break this last week, Paulie's like, no, fuck this, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
So, the aftermath of the Bronte eviction was a lot of fun, in my opinion, because Frank and Tiffany started bickering at each other, and then Frank and Devon started bickering at each other, and Frank points out to Tiffany that Devon was the one that went to him and said, oh, Tiffany's coming after you, and then Tiffany in her head was like, oh shit, maybe I can't trust Devon anymore.
Yeah, maybe not.
And the fact that Tiffany also heard from Devon that Frank was coming after her. So, Devon ultimately was the one that caused this entire mess. It's kind of starting to haunt her now. So now you have Tiffany and Frank on the outs of the house, and Bridget on the outside as well, because Bridget's the puppy dog of Frank.
Cabbage Patch Kid.
The Cabbage Patch Kid. So... everyone, while everyone was away and scheming against them, Tiffany and Frank decided to team up. And
which was a shocker to everybody.
I could not be more happy, because I thought that was hilarious and horror. That is the worst case scenario for all of them that decided to keep Tiffany in the house. Bronte sure as hell probably would not have done that. Her main ally was gonna be Natalie, and Natalie wasn't gonna go after anyone. So it was the worst case scenario for them. And Tiffany ended up going on a little bit of a tirade against Devon, was trying to talk to, or rather, Devon was trying to talk to Tiffany, and Tiffany was just so fed up with Devon's shit, and kind of was freaking out over the fact that she can't trust anyone in the house, that everything that has been said to her is lies, and whenever she enters a room, people leave it, and apparently she has leprosy type thing.
Okay.
That's how she's being, how she feels when people leave the room. But it was Tiffany was really she was done. She was absolutely done. And that's why she teamed up with Frank. So then we get to the nomination ceremony, and Paulie, no surprise here, nominates Tiffany, and alongside Natalie. Don't know why Paul was given a break. I guess because Paul has just been on the block so much, but Natalie was the next pawn up. So Tiffany, Natalie on the block, and then we get to the Roadkill, and this was a crucial thing for Tiffany or Frank to win, since they were on the
Can I
inside.
describe the challenge?
Absolutely, you go
All
ahead.
right, so there were 4 poles that stretched across the RV, and they had to take these air fresheners because it stank in there, because Uncle Austin had something, and I still really hope that they were referencing Austin from last season.
I hope so too, especially.
I don't know what else Austin would be a reference to.
Yeah, I think that absolutely referenced Austin in some way.
Yeah. Well, he took a giant shit in the bathroom, and it smells. Um, so they need to get some air fresheners on the poles, and they have to do it in order. They're all at varying heights and varying distances from the stand where they can get them from. However, they had to go in like red, blue, yellow, green order, or whatever the order was, and then repeat it over and over. And whoever had the most air fresheners without knocking any off won.
Yeah, and it was a fun challenge, especially the aftermath, the after edit with all the fart sounds throughout the
Yep.
whole competition. It was very
That's
funny to me.
that's
I
you. That's how you.
that is that
That's
was my
that's
entertainment
creative joke writing.
factor. That
Put a
is
fart in there.
just insert a fart.
See, comedy.
I honestly, I think I don't know why, but I think it's hilarious. I know it's not good, like really great joke writing, but just there's something about like a fart noise that's just it's hilarious. We all need to embrace our fartitude.
I'm gonna
So
keep the rest of the episode until you.
say again. Say again. You're just gonna do that throughout the rest.
Oh, that's stupid. Really dumb.
All right, whatever. So we get to yeah, it was a very interesting challenge, and then everyone had to go to their what I keep on forgetting what they're called. Their tackle boxes, whatever it is.
Tackle box.
Yeah, the tackle box, and
Silly Yorker, never even fished.
nah, never.
I called you Yorkener.
Yorker. I actually, just off subject for a second, but when I did Boy Scouts, I did fishing one time, but I had no idea what I was doing. I almost let the fishing pole drop into the ocean. It was great.
Amazing.
So then all of a sudden they're doing like the really intense like, oh, who's it gonna be? They're opening the box, oh, loser. Oh, they're opening the box, loser. And then like they're going through everyone, and then it stopped at Tiffany, where she was declared the wiener.
Winner. And this is
So
the first time someone on the block won it, correct?
no, Victor did.
Fuck, you're right.
Well, actually, no, you're right, because Victor was a backdoor plan.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
So you're right. So yeah, Tiffany, first time on the block to win the roadkill. And though it does not guarantee her safety, she can maybe turn the target off of her onto someone else. So she goes to Frank, tells him the good news, and they decide that maybe the best course of action is to target the Corey showmance, starting with nominating Corey. So Corey ends up going on the block next to Tiffany and Natalie. So I forget what ended up happening in between the roadkill nomination and then the veto. I think it was literally all fluff.
Yeah.
Not much happening. It was still just the battle between everyone. And then the veto competition happened. And please explain the veto competition.
All right, so this is one of my personal favorite challenges of the season so far. There were 3 ice cream cones, with 2 different types of flavors, or with 2 of the same flavor on each cone, and what you had to do was match what was up on the screen with your ice cream cone, with your ice cream cone combinations. So yeah, you just had to pick one up, move it. You could only move one at a time. You could only ever have 3 on one ice cream cone, and it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and also the backyard was mostly goodies, and I was getting very hungry. So yeah, it was it was one of the challenges where it was kind of like a knockout challenge. So you had the first challenger was Corey, and he challenged Tiffany. And it was Corey versus Tiffany, and then Tiffany ended up losing, so Corey ended up staying in. And then I believe it was Paul and Natalie next.
Yes, and Paul ended up winning that.
and Paul ended up winning that.
And then Paulie versus Day.
Paulie versus Day, and then
Paulie won.
Paulie ended up winning that one.
And then they decided Paul and Corey went up next, and they decided that they were going to let Paul win so that Paul could take Corey off, and then Paul would also be safe. But Paul was taking so long that Corey decided, I don't want to throw this challenge anymore, and just won it.
Yeah, he was just like, yeah,
It was
whatever.
hilarious.
Yeah, and you would think that Corey was the slow one, but
No, like
yeah.
he got it involved ice cream, so like
Yeah.
it's like the character Kevin in The Office. I don't know if you watch The Office, but
No, I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
I think.
but he could do math whenever it involved pies, and then like
That's right. I
and then
remember
like change pies to salads, and then he couldn't do the math.
that. That is fantastic. But yeah, and it was Corey versus Paulie was the final battle, and Corey ended up winning that. So Corey wins the veto, gets his first win of the season, and he's able to pull himself off, or so you may think. Because then the conversation began, maybe I should stay on the block, so that way Nicole wouldn't go up.
Right.
And that shows how much Corey's education of the Big Brother game has paid off thus far. So Nicole gets really worried. And by the way, Nicole's like crying like a baby in the DR room. And I'm like, get over this. Like Nicole has disappointed me so much
I know, dude.
this season.
I wanted to root for her, but I don't know if I can right now.
Like she said in the beginning, oh no, I'm not gonna fall for a guy. I'm not gonna be for that. I want to focus on the game.
She had a great first week.
Great first week, and then fell in love with the
baseball white bread.
The baseball goat torturing white bread. Yeah, I was like, it's so frustrating to me, but but no, this is the hole she digs herself in, and let's see how much it pays off for her. So yeah, and so Tiff is like wondering now, okay, so who do I put up? Probably I might just do Nicole, and then all of a sudden Devon comes into the have not room where Tiffany and James were talking, and Devon's just like, what's the plan? And Tiffany's like, I don't know yet. And Devon just gets up and leaves. Tiffany actually calls her out on being sketchy, and Devon's like, no, never. And Devon leaves, and Tiffany's like, what the fuck? And then it kind of starts to hit her that Devon is the reason why all of this is happening.
Yeah.
And Tiffany's like, well, shit. I think I need to put her up. And she does just that. Devon goes up on the block. Devon flips her hair in her face, even though she kind of over-exaggerated it when discussing it later. Right. I don't think it was as bad, but still, Devon sat next to her, flipped her hair, and was like, pissed! And it was Paul, Tiffany, and Devon up for eviction this week.
Natalie, Tiffany, and Devon.
Oh, I'm sorry, Natalie. Sorry.
Yeah. So used to Paul being
on he's up there too much. His picture will be framed in the background, the Block Hall of Fame.
Yep.
But yeah, I really, it was at this point, like, I'm trying very hard to be, like, trying to not pick sides right now. Like, I picked my winners for this show and stuff, and I've been trying very hard this season to be very unbiased, and I've been doing a pretty good job. But
no,
right now,
like, I still want James to win.
Yeah.
But like, it's cool to see how everything is going down.
Right.
I'm also kind of trying to see who I would be okay with rooting for
down the line.
James not inevitably, but like if he's
in a good spot. He's in a good
position.
I would not be surprised if James makes it to the end right now. I think he's one of the contenders. But regardless of that, I think that one thing for sure is that, like, watching it from being an unbiased perspective, there's a part of me that began rooting for the Tiff and Frank combo because of the fact that they were just stirring chaos, and they kind of really started to see Devon's bullshit. And so I really wanted to see how far that can go. So we'll see what happens in this in the eviction episode. So we get to the eviction, and Frank is doing a lot of campaigning for Tiffany, saying, "Look, Devon is dangerous to keep in. Tiff is going to work with us. You have to listen to us." Paulie is not listening. Paulie does not want anything to do with Tiff. He wants her gone. Nicole and Corey, they wanted to keep her in, but they've also had their doubts. But they were more likely to go after Devon than Tiffany, or than Paulie is. So it really did come down to like the last minute. But it was basically decided at that point that Tiffany would be the one to go, and by our first sweep of votes this season, Tiffany was evicted.
So long.
So long, Miss Russo.
It's so sweet. It was so nice to see her go. I liked her better than Vanessa, but
yeah, well, we didn't want her to turn into Vanessa. That was our concern, and we got her out before then.
Yeah, there was something that I wanted to bring up that I thought was a really good point. In the Thursday episode, they did a couple interviews with Cody and Vanessa.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah, which was like, all right, they have nothing else to fucking show. So, but it was also like Vanessa made a really good point about how like Paulie's allowed to play his own game separate from Cody's, but Tiffany isn't really allowed to separate from Vanessa's.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was a really good point.
Absolutely.
I still think that like Tiffany deserves to be where she was based on how she played the game, but I also think that it is true that like, and even we've been doing this, is comparing Tiffany a lot to Vanessa, but not necessarily Paulie to Cody.
Absolutely. I think that I think there's a few things that I think that one part of it is the fact that Vanessa's a little bit more fresh in our minds than Cody is.
Yeah.
But I also
and also that Vanessa kind of made more of an impression that Cody did.
Oh, that's the other thing I feel. I feel like that Vanessa was such a force in the house for so long. Cody was kind of floating. He had a great social game, don't get me wrong, but he was not in the spotlight as much. Didn't cause as much drama as Vanessa did. So I think that's why the comparisons are there. And Tiffany and both Paulie and Tiffany, they are very similar to their siblings. I think the difference is that Paulie, I think he's playing a little bit more of a scheming role in this season. I think that Tiffany isn't trying to cause as much drama and not really making up as many lies as Vanessa did. But other than that, I would say there is a comparison between the two of them. I think that just Vanessa is more of a force, and that's why we keep on comparing her to her sister. So, yeah, but I agree with you. I think it's true. I think that now that Tiffany got evicted, it would be interesting to see how people start really like, oh, wait a minute, there's things that Paulie's doing here that Cody's kind of like, oh god, he's gonna get to the final two. We'll start to see that down the line. But then that's not the end of our week, because then we get to Friday's episode of Big Brother, which is
Battle Back.
Hasn't happened before. It is the Battle Back. And during the Thursday show, we actually got to see what the other evicted house guests were doing. They were all sequestered in separate houses, which I thought, what went through my mind was like, they really have a large budget to rent out 4 separate houses.
And how huge those houses were, too.
Right, they were living in mansions. So I was like, wow, they really put a lot of work into this show. Yeah. But yeah, one of my favorite parts of that segment was Jose playing volleyball with himself. Because they kept on showing him playing volleyball, but no one else is in the house with him.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming like a producer was on the other side, like helping him. But I just thought that was really funny. But yeah, Glenn, they're all ready to go in and battle it out. So, Gocubs, I'm going to let you take this whole Battle Back episode with all the competitions that happen.
All right, so it started out, each of these challenges, if I'm correct, happened immediately after the HOH challenge of that week.
I would say so. Maybe
Okay,
I think the last one
minus the
happened.
last one.
I think it happened. Yeah, it happened like Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All right. So, uh, Glenn and Jose were the first ones since they were the first two that were evicted, and it was a repeat of the berry picking one where they had to walk across balance beams, pick up berries, and bring them back. Uh, they only had to do 20 each, and they also had this poison berry that, if used, could eliminate all of one person's side. And yeah, it was going pretty close, but then Jose was messing up so much at the beginning, but then he kind of like got into a rhythm and stopped like sprinting across the beams, and then yeah, uh, Glenn saw that Jose was getting ahead and decided, oh, hey, I'm going to go for that poison berry. But Jose got his 10th berry right before Glenn put in his poison berry. So, yeah,
couldn't doubt
nothing dropped for Jose, and Jose ended up winning, sending Glenn home for good, which kind of sucks for the guy. He
lost the challenge twice.
lost the challenge twice, which sent him out, but I also don't think he would have played that good of a game in the house.
Oh yeah, but I don't know. There's a part of me that thought he would be a good entertainment factor. Another thing about Jose really he really burned Glenn because he actually used his poison berry while he was really ahead and
Yeah.
shoved it in there and made Glenn start from square one. So
Yeah, basically.
Jose was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna put the last nail in your coffin.
Yep.
So yeah, Jose moves on.
All right. Next challenge was Jose against Victor, and this was a repeat of the tennis one where they had to bounce tennis balls. And they each had 5 targets of the other person's face. First one to knock down all 5 won. Victor absolutely destroyed Jose. There's not much else to say there.
One of my favorite moments is when they did the Canadian South Park animation of Jose's face.
That was so ugly. That was so poorly animated.
I was laughing so hard. I was like, what the fuck, Big Brother? What are you doing? But I thought that there was a very creative element to that, but in that they didn't usually when they do those kind of challenges, they usually have buckets and buckets full of balls that you use to kind of hit the faces, but the extra element of the challenge was they had to run back, grab the balls, and come back to throw some more. I thought that was an interesting tidbit to throw in there.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. Victor moves on.
Yep. So Victor wins.
Wins.
I'm done podcasting.
just get off Skype, whatever.
So Victor moves on next to face Bronte, and Bronte and Victor, they competed in the memory thing with the pictures, except the pictures were all over the yard, and they had to answer 6 questions correctly, pretty much all at the same time. And a lot of these involved counting. Bronte is a mathematician. Bronte lost.
Oh my god. What I really was frustrated with in this challenge was both of them were just I'm just gonna stick his face here and see what happens. No!
And then they were so surprised when it didn't happen.
Right. What? How did I lose?
I can't believe that the answer to these isn't all Zakia. That's what I think Victor's had 3 Zakia. Or no, Bronte's did.
Oh my god, it was so painful to watch it because
it was bad.
I was shocked that Victor won that.
Imagine that took 4 hours.
Oh, probably.
Maybe not that long, but probably at least half an hour, 45 minutes just to do that one.
I would love to hear if Victor talks about it on the feeds, how long it actually takes, because that was ridiculous. I cannot believe they were both just I'm gonna put this here and we'll see.
Yep.
All right, so now we get to the final one.
And now it's Victor versus Tiffany, and they have this giant wall of a puzzle that they have to assemble. And they both had different strategies. Victor couldn't spell things. Tiffany noticed. So they both. The thing was that the word that they had to spell out that was part of the puzzle had was at the top, but they put it on the second line down. Victor, I don't know why Victor put it there, but Tiffany said it was like, oh, there's a pattern. This is going up, so like there'll be stuff above it. But then there wasn't, and both of them had to like shift stuff up, and
Yeah,
it was a big mess. I thought that Tiffany had the better strategy the entire time, but Victor pulled it out in the end because he's just faster and stronger.
yeah, and it was confusing to me because there was so many different elements to it because they had to do the poster on the wall, and then they had to do the like I guess like the CDs at the bottom, but they had to listen to the hints by the DJ that was on the
Yeah,
wall to
yeah.
kind of figure out what times it was. So they had like it was like two completely different elements. So that was to me that seemed like a second part finale HOH competition.
Honestly, yeah, like I mean, like it makes sense. Like you're getting back in the game after being voted out, so
Yeah, it's a
it's
big
a
tough
big
competition.
challenge. It's a hard challenge.
Yeah. That's why they shut down the backyard for like 3 days to build it.
Yeah,
It's probably. So yeah, that was very very intense and but fun to watch at the same time.
yeah.
And it was one of my favorite episodes thus far this season.
It was really good because it was really varied. All the challenges were fun to watch. Jose
Absolutely.
went home forever.
Just you gotta be glad about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I felt like this was a twist. This is one of the first twists in a long time that I really, really liked. And I don't I wouldn't even mind it if they did this later in the season. Like that to me, this to me
like
is so
that's
much
how they
fun.
do the
The
like how
jury
they
buyback.
usually do the jury thing.
Yeah, like the jury buyback. I absolutely would love them
Yeah,
to do it again because I there was something about it that was just so much fun to me,
yeah,
that I really enjoyed it. It was just and you didn't have to listen to any of the current head of house guests that were in there. You just had it was just looking back at all the other past guests that have been evicted. It was just their episode. They got this episode. They
yeah,
got their chance to prove themselves, and Victor did. And it was intense, it was fun, and I would love this twist to come back at some point in the future.
yeah,
So,
definitely.
yes, let's get into our predictions for this week.
Let's do it.
We do for this episode
We fucked up.
we do not know who the head of household is
That's
because
a lie.
well, we both now do because I told him and I usually try to play it off, but I we don't know who the head of household. Well, we do know who the head of household is, but we're not going to say it this time around. But for future episodes, we plan on in a time when like the Thursday episode, like the head of household competition extends into Sundays. We're going to have the head of household be said during the podcast for our predictions, just to be fair, so that we could really accurately name the nominations, the vetoes, and all that.
Yeah,
So that is that's just for future episodes, but for right now, because I already knew who the head of household nominated and stuff, I just felt like we're just gonna go off of what we have been doing, which is going back to last week and picking our head of household head of household predictions and saying who they nominate and who wins the veto and all that. So,
yeah.
so would you like to get started, Go Cubs?
Sure. So I did this based off of Zakiya being HOH. That may or may not be true. And I said she would nominate Frank and Victor. Frank will win the power of veto, and they nominate Bridget in his place, and Bridget would get evicted.
All right,
And then Victor would win the next HOH.
Victor. For me, I said that last week I said that Frank would win HOH. So going off of that, I said that he would nominate Devon and Zakiya. Day would win the veto, and then Paulie would go up and get evicted, and then Natalie will wins the following HOH. By the way, I think after next week's episode, we're gonna be going into double eviction week.
Oh boy.
That's my prediction. Just because usually they do the first two jury members are evicted during a double eviction, so
Yep.
I would expect that to happen not this Thursday but the following Thursday. So I'm looking forward to that.
I would also like to go over the points. Chris finally got points.
Yay!
Tiffany was nominated and Tiffany was evicted. Those are the points he got.
And you
Those are
got
also
2
the points that I got.
So the
Plus-
lead's the same.
What?
So the well, actually no, the lead's a little bit more because
Plus, I Chris and I decided to like earlier in the day before the battle back episode happened. Uh, we each texted each other who we thought was going to win after all of it, and I said Victor, and I was right, so I get another point.
yeah, I
It
said
is now
Jose.
7-2.
I said Jose just to mess with Gocubs.
You knew that wasn't gonna happen.
I knew it was not gonna happen either, but I just wanted to say it. If I was right, I was gonna freak out. I was gonna be like, "Wow, I cannot even believe that." Um. All right, so that is our podcast for this week. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we won't have to film this on a Saturday. We can stick with the Fridays,
Yeah.
and we can have this up. We'll be back next Sunday
We'll
with
be
more
up
Big
on
Brother.
Sunday anyway.
Yeah, it'll work out. Big Brother podcast will be back next week, and this should be an interesting week ahead with Victor back in the house.
Yes.
So without any further ado, thank you all so much for watching. And
BoJack Horseman season 3 is out now. Please go watch all of it. It's really good.
that's right. That's your recommendation for the week.
That's my forever recommendation. Just go watch BoJack Horseman.
And renewed for season 4, by the way.
Yes. I know. Very excited. They need to fucking season 4 now.
And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.